Uncle Ronny.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Supernatural Beer Bros podcast. I am your host, Andy, and I'm joined today by Ben down San Diego way.
Howdy ho.
And Ronny up in Maine. Ronny up in Maine with the Skeeters, with the Easter Bunny backdrop, banging mommy.
What's happening?
Classing it up.
Are gay.
Oh man.
Classing the joint up.
Well,
I always do.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know, Mom there's having a happy Easter.
That's banana. So, yeah, happy Easter weekend, I guess.
Yeah. Tomorrow is Easter. And don't plan on doing anything special other than clean my house and fix my car.
Yeah, we were just getting the house ready today for family dinner tomorrow. And to be honest, I don't like the whole like Easter eggs and Easter bunny thing. Just like I don't like Santa Claus. I'm not like a Puritan asshole. I just don't like those two creatures because I think they detract, but that's who I am.
Yeah. Well,
You don't like the melding of pagan rituals with Christianity?
Well,
Hey, it's American tradition, Ronny. Get it right.
it's American tradition to fuck up religious holidays.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, bringing a tree inside of your house is pagan. Mistletoe is pagan. Santa Claus is not pagan, however.
No, well, Saint Nick isn't because he used to be a saint. Not that we're trying to go off on a tangent here, but because it's Easter, not Christmas. But yeah, no, he was a real saint. But like, basically, modern Santa Claus is based off of like some Coca-Cola advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought that Santa Claus was like some old white ninja who was wearing a suit that was stained red with the blood of all the children that caught him in their house.
Oh my
That'd
God.
probably be some, like, hey, look, that'd probably be some old ass European tradition because, like, I think it's the Netherlands. No, it's either the Spanish Santa or the Netherlands Santa that he will stuff you in a sack if you've been bad and kick you.
Well, that's like the Krampus, too.
Hey, actually, that reminds me of that one scene from Austin Powers where he's like, he's like, when we were children, summers in Rangoon, luge lessons. when it was hot, we would make meat helmets. When I was insolent, I was placed in a burlap bag and beaten with reeds. Quite standard, really.
Yeah, I mean, some of those European Santas are mean sons of bitches. So I don't think they have any. I don't think they have anything like that for Easter though. Like I don't think there's like a German, Easter bunny that like breaks into your house and assaults you. So
You mean there's not a German Easter bunny that's like the Easter bunny on Monty Python? The bunny, I mean.
look at the bones.
He's got a vicious street a mile wide. He's a killer.
All right. So, anyway, if you want to find us, we are on, our email is supernaturalbeerbros@gmail.com. Instagram is sbbpod. And, I got a TikTok, but I don't post on there. And, what am I missing? I'm forgetting something. Oh, we're on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and Audible, and a couple of the smaller ones as well, Podbean and all that. So
spread the word.
Yep. Spread the word. Tell a friend. Anybody of like mind that may find us hilarious. I don't even find us hilarious, but
because we is.
we is hilarious.
Is you is you ain't my baby.
Is you is or is you ain't. All right, so the topic for today on our Easter special is the Shroud of Turin.
Y'all motherfuckers need Jesus.
Bad Boys 2. You two motherfuckers need Jesus.
I mean, that is it an old black woman, an old church woman?
Mm-hmm.
Man, she right, yo. She right. Are those like cicadas? Are people around cicadas right now?
That's Ronnie.
I'm sorry, his peepers outside.
Damn speeders.
No, they're living in his sweater.
Yeah. Man, it's them damn crotch crickets. I can't do a thing about them.
Oh, man. Shit.
The sea is foamy. You have wandered way off course.
That didn't
that's
take long.
That's early.
Didn't take long.
Nope.
In true Beer Bros fashion.
Oh, yeah. Not prepared at all and wandering way off course.
No, we're prepared. We got articles.
Sort of. I didn't read any of them yet. This is kind of like a blind reaction right now.
I can give you a very quick rundown, then you can read what you have. So basically,
I got the Wikipedia page right here.
Got it up. All right, you go right ahead there, Chester.
All right, Shroud of Turin, also known as the Holy Shroud, Italian Sacro Sidone, or Santa Sidone. Damn it. Is a length of linen cloth bearing the negative image of a man. Some describe the image as depicting Jesus of Nazareth and believe the fabric is the burial shroud in which he was wrapped after crucifixion. First mentioned in 1354, the shroud was denounced in 1389 by the local bishop of Troyes as a fake. Currently, the Catholic Church neither formally endorses nor rejects the shroud, and in 2013, Pope Francis referred to it as an icon of a man scourged and crucified. The shroud has been kept in the Royal Chapel of the Cathedral of Turin in northern Italy since 1578.
Hence the name, Shroud of Turin.
Yep, exactly.
Exactement.
So in 1988, radiocarbon dating established that the shroud was from the Middle Ages between the years 1260 and 1390. All hypothesi put forward to challenge the radiocarbon dating have been scientifically refuted.
And that's a lie, and I'll explain why later. But yeah, that's what Wikipedia is claiming.
Well, Wikipedia mostly is a left-wing rag, so.
Yeah, and I'll explain to people why that's absolutely a lie. But yeah, let's go ahead.
Hey, it's in quotations. I don't think you read this yet, but so it's from that Strupp team that did the research on the shroud and the testing and all that stuff. And it says, we can conclude for now that the shroud image is that of a real human form of a scourged, crucified man. It is not the product of an artist. The blood stains are composed of hemoglobin and also give a positive test for serum albumin. The image is an ongoing mystery, and until further chemical studies are made, perhaps by this group of scientists, or perhaps by some scientists in the future, the problem remains unsolved.
Yeah, and then for those of you watching on video, this is a picture of the shroud on the left. This is a negative of it on the right.
So yeah, they actually and maybe you can actually, because this was discovered by an Italian photographer. It was either in the late 1800s or early 1900s when he was producing the negatives of his photograph of the shroud. So this image was not really visual. Like the one on the right, the black and white, was not visual until he saw the negatives produced from his camera.
You know what it kind of looks like to me? It kind of looks like when you go to the what do you call it? the X-ray place and you get X-rays.
Yeah, like
It looks like an X-ray picture, almost.
well, and you know what will
Especially on the right, the negative version of it.
Well, yeah, because they you know, because so what would happen? Well, here, why don't you read some more of the articles because I'll kind of explain.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. On the right
His-
though, you can kind of see more clearly, like the face and kind of the, everything. This guy, whoever he was, whether it's Jesus or not, this dude was jacked. Fucking fly, man. This thing's been in here for a week.
Oh man.
Almost stay out of my face.
Andy's admiring the physique of a man who's been dead for 1,000 years.
Hey, it's Jesus, so it's all good.
But if it's actually Jesus, then it's 2,000 years. But yeah.
So here's kind of the thing, I guess, because the big thing is people kind of latch on to that 1988 date, and they're like, oh no, it's fake because of 1988. But the fact is, it was tested. You know, there were samples tested in the years to come. In 2005 or 2006 were big years, because one of the scientists who actually helped come to the conclusion that it was much older than that time frame, than the Middle Ages. He was actually a pretty not sarcastic, but a very skeptical atheist, especially about the shroud. But before he died, he helped determine it was a much older shroud. And here's the thing. Let's just say, for example, it is a medieval forgery. The crazy thing is, modern science cannot recreate the Shroud of Turin accurately with the known technology of the medieval ages. So they keep saying, oh, it's a fake, but they can't reproduce it. Like, in no way, shape, or form can they reproduce the image. They can come close, but everything falls apart. But here's what it was.
Yeah, but also if you're trying to recreate the image, you got to take 1,000 to 2,000 years of aging into account when you're trying to recreate it.
Well, yeah, oh, exactly. Because here's the thing. So, because they tested a part of the shroud, because the samples tested all came from one particular edge of the shroud. This is a 1988 test. One of the STURP scientists, Raymond Rogers, this is him, Raymond Rogers, wrote in a peer-reviewed article before his death that the weave on the edge from the sample taken showed anomalies, meaning it was different from the rest of the shroud. The material there at the edge was cotton, not linen. It had been colored with agents to match the rest of the shroud. So first of all, that they're right. That sample they tested actually was probably from the medieval ages, because the shroud, if you pull up the image again, you're going to see burn marks on the shroud. That was from a fire in France in like the 14th.
Right here, it says the shroud has undergone several restorations and several steps have been taken to preserve it to avoid further damage and contamination. So it's been worked on and restored.
Yeah, because
once through history,
especially at the edges. Because here's what happened: to restore the pattern of the cloth, colored cotton threads were invisibly woven into the existing linen. Since these were younger than the rest of the shroud, they gave a reading from the Middle Ages. Three other tests for the age of the ancient textiles all indicate that the Shroud of Turin is not a product of the medieval ages, but is much older. And here's kind of an interesting thing. What they say about some of the stitch work. On something about Masada in Israel. Yeah, here we go. So here's the thing. In 2002, with the 16, there was 16th century backing cloth removed from the Shroud of Turin for the first time. So the shroud was part of that restoration work over the centuries. There was a backing cloth placed on the shroud for preservation. So that was removed. And this textile expert, Mechthild Fleury Limburg, discovered a rare tight stitch on the backside of the shroud. And here's the interesting thing. That type of stitch was only known from one other place, the Masada fortress in Israel, which obviously, if anybody knows their history, Masada was a fortress in Israel that held out against the Romans. It ultimately fell to a Roman siege. But that was a revolt that occurred less than a generation after Jesus's historical crucifixion. And, for me, it's a real resurrection. Maybe others it's not. But that was only a generation later. So
Well, here's the thing too. I got a question, Ben. You have any idea about crucifixion? Did that go out of style with the Romans? Like, did that method of execution die with the Romans?
I mean, you look, there's various points in history where like in Japan, for example, there were Japanese missionaries, like Jesuit missionaries, who were crucified by the, I guess they must have been Shintos or Buddhist overlords of Japan. So they were
Right.
crucified, but it's not like they were doing that for centuries. They just did that as a punishment to the missionaries.
Right. So
Ottoman Turks famously did that to Armenians during the Armenian genocide. They crucified some of them. But again, and Ottomans were probably doing that for much longer because they had centuries of interactions with Christians in Europe and the Middle East.
yeah, I was just wondering if crucifixion had kind of gone out of style with the end of the Roman Empire.
Well, the Muzzies,
In that area of the world anyway, then that would lend credence to the shroud being more authentic as well, because the man that was obviously in the shroud was obviously crucified, is what I've come to gather from it.
well, the Muslims in the Middle East still do it on occasion.
Well, yeah, that is true. I mean,
To this
no,
day. So.
I mean, the Romans at some point obviously gave it up, especially as they became kind of a Christianized empire with Constantine. I mean, they probably stopped doing that before Constantine, but he obviously wouldn't have allowed it. So that was the 300s when he became emperor. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, that was employed throughout the centuries, though, by primarily Muslims against kind of Christian rebels. So,
Well, I mean, if I remember right, Islam wasn't even started until what, like the 5th or 6th century, right?
7th century, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a long time after Christ.
Well, and not to go too far off the rails, but no, I mean, Islam is just basically a kind of a collaboration of many religions like Judaism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism.
Well, it's got the same origin story, basically.
Well, yeah, because they borrowed everyone's origin story.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the medical. What's really amazing about the shroud, and I think the most important thing is the energy of how the image itself is burned into the cloth, because that's what they just can't reproduce. Even if it was a medieval forgery, they can't even reproduce the burn image on the shroud correctly. But I mean, the medical conclusion.
So what if I wrapped myself in a similar cloth and exposed myself to the flash of a nuclear explosion?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that would suck for you.
On there?
Well, the material would probably be
what if I was in a vacuum?
Oh, maybe, yeah. You want to check it out?
Try it.
Y'all got any of them nuclear holocaust?
If I don't know, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there's famous pictures in Japan of I think it was in Hiroshima, of these walls that survived the blast, that
people shadow,
perfect shadows of people in front of the walls where they were when the flash happened.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever went down, but like we went to the Boston Museum of Science a few times, and they had a Hiroshima exhibit, and they showed that, like they recreate, like you could actually stand in front of a wall and get your framed, an outline of you taken against a wall. just to kind of demonstrate what happened to Japanese people.
Yeah, you do like
But
a
no.
pose. Do like a pose like this, like.
Well, obviously, someone did a Desert Eagle, someone did fingers,
You know how they used to do the chalk outlines of dead bodies when they'd find them?
Yeah.
So the medical, I think the beam of light is the most interesting thing, but I think that's the last point. But the thing about the shroud is, like, yes, you see puncture, but here's the thing. So starting with the person's head. So if it's a forgery, and this isn't even the supernatural part of it, the supernatural part comes later. But like starting with the head, there were people researching the shroud found more than 50 puncture wounds as seen over the visible regions of the head. The crushing of the nose and the swelling of the eye and right cheekbone reveal the type of injuries that could have caused a blow from a stick, a cylindrical object about 4.5 centimeters in diameter. You can see the lack of hair in the beard as the pieces have been deliberately pulled out. So just for starters, that kind of lines up pretty well with a crown of thorns being placed on the head of Jesus Christ as it was relayed in the gospel narrative.
I don't know if you can see it, but right here, clearly, you can see blood. There's a blood stain.
Yeah. And actually, you can see it in both the negative and the...
Yeah, from the crown of thorns. And down here on the wrist, you can see where the spike was put through his wrist. Right there. That's the blood stain.
Yeah, because so starting off with that, because he was, as the gospel narrative state, he was repeatedly beat as he was awaiting trial, then after trial, then on the march up to Golgotha, the place of the skull. And the first real damage after the last, well, actually the next big things are the lacerations to the back. So the lacerations, I believe, happened first with Roman flagellation footprints. Practically the entire body is covered with small wounds, equal to and similar to small dumbbells.
Did you say Roman flatulation?
It sounds pretty close, doesn't it? They were probably flatulating while they were flagellating, because they were gross, rude ass Romans.
While they were fappening.
They were probably drinking some cheap ass wine too. But
the fappening.
So the small dumbbells are about 3 centimeters in length. The marks, paired and pinpoint, are formed by small circles of about 12 millimeters in diameter, somewhat separated from each other joined by a transverse line. So some of these marks are not visible in the shroud with the naked eye, but are clearly revealed by ultraviolet light photographs. They are undoubtedly those that would have been left by the Roman torture instrument known by the name flagellum taxillatum, named for the balls of taxili that finished off its three straps formed by nerves obtained from animals. So the representation of these lesions all over the body are the back, the legs, chest, belly, gluteal area, and even on the genitals. So
I forgot when I was pointing out bloodstains. Check out this one on his rib cage. That's where they stuck him with the friggin' spear when they was checking to see if he was dead. Remember?
Well, exactly. See
that spot right there?
The Roman centurion who stabbed him to make sure he was dead, and according to the story, he received both blood and water pouring out on him. But yeah, so all those lesions would have been paired up with the story. And this is such a weird thing that Francis, the Pope of Rome, would say this kind of thing. It's like, oh, we don't know who he is. What the fuck are you talking about? You're the Pope. But anyhow, so yeah, he would have been at I don't know what you call the pole, whatever the pole is that they put you at and tie you to, as the Romans were beating him, because that's what Pontius Pilate in the gospel narratives ordered to happen, because he didn't want to kill Jesus Christ. The Jews wanted Jesus punished because he was going around claiming to be the God and the Son of God, which to the Jews was a terrible thing.
The centurion that stuck him with the spear, his name was Longinus, wasn't it? Or something like that? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because centuries later in the crusade, the first crusade, there was a monk who claimed to have found Longinus's spear, which helped them to allegedly gain, strength and energy and motivation to defeat to capture Jerusalem. So that spear actually came into play like 1,060 years later in the Crusades.
Yeah, and then later, Tenacious D got a hold of it and called it the Pick of Destiny.
See his foamy, Andy.
The sea is foamy. You have wandered way off course.
I'm trying to so all the marks, so that was kind of indicative of that flagellum, that basically a barbed whip hitting him multiple times, which I think was 39 times according to either tradition or the scriptures. But so the next big thing are what they call the footprints of the crucifixion. And one of the first things that catches our attention in the shroud, according to them, when we look at the crossed arms, left over right, is the existing wound at the level of the left wrist, and not in the palm of the hand, as is always represented in religious art. So this Dr. Pierre Barbet carried out experiments with recently amputated arms, because that's what scientists do. They still use corpses, kind of like Igor. The recently amputated arms, I guess, technically were still alive, and confirmed that the most suitable area to insert a nail was through the carpus and not through the palms. And that makes sense, because in the palms, as all that weight is hanging down, it's going to rip right up through the palm, through the through the hand. It's not going to hold.
Yeah, see, because like if you take your finger and you push in real good on your palm, you can feel the gap between the bones in your hand.
Yep.
Like, because your fingers don't end here; they continue down, and then there's tendons that connect it to the muscles in your forearm, and that's how you curl your fingers.
So yeah,
But
sacred
everything, if you hang your body weight from your palm on a little spot, it will rip straight up.
So yeah, exactly. So this, because sacred art is actually wrong on this one, because and what throws people off is there's another religious topic, maybe we can tie it in, is called the stigmata, where a mystic, usually a Catholic mystic, like Padre Pio, for example, of Spain, alleged, and actually Francis of Assisi, the famous saint who everybody knows, who loves animals, and that's what he's famous for, received the first alleged stigmata. But the problem with that is they always receive them on the palms, and that's what threw people off. But this is actually correct, because the people here calculated a weight of about 80 kilograms. So they're Canadians or Europeans here, but 80 kilograms for a man on the shroud, hanging in a vertical position with arms forming an angle approximately 65 degrees. That's what they estimated. So they give some pretty good. So basically what they allege and on their studies is that the palms could not bear this weight. However, the wrists could withstand up to what they call 200 kilograms of traction. So this is actually visually accurate. The old art.
80 kilograms is what, like 170 pounds?
Yeah, let me.
Ish. It's like it's like 2.5 pounds roughly per kilogram.
Right.
So like 180 or 170.
I'm trying to look it up, but it's being slow as shit.
I can look.
There you go. 176 pounds, give or take.
Yeah.
Which kind of looks like the body. Yeah, right there. That, like you're saying, that's a built dude. Like he's, So yeah, they're basically saying the nail had to penetrate through a space between the carpal bones called the destot point, a space that Barbet and later other what they call syndenologists had placed between the large bone and so they're, obviously medical professionals were giving a pretty in-depth study of this area of the body. So the wrists were just the perfect one. Now, launched on the side. So this is what you were pointing out. So the wound on the side is located between the 5th and 6th rib. I don't. Do you see it on there? Just naked eye.
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
It's on the side.
It may be evident proof of the practice of exactus mortis, a mere verification of death effected with an accurate blow of the spear. That's what was relayed in the gospel narratives.
Mhm.
We know that the crucified were normally practiced by cruriphagium, a violent blow with the mace, which their legs were broken to accelerate their death.
Well,
We know
here's my question though too. What are these identical shapes on either side of the picture?
I don't know if
Because
that's
if you look at it, the roundness right here
yeah.
with like this line down the middle, kind of like little circles inside, it almost looks like some kind of a light bulb
That's weird.
or maybe
That's
some
weird.
kind of a lantern look. Doesn't it? Kind of?
Yeah, I've never that's kind of crazy. No, I didn't notice that before. All right.
I'm curious if
maybe
where
these
those
ancient
lines are.
people took this picture of him on purpose.
Hey, you know what I'm curious about, Andy? Is
Wow.
those lines you're talking about, they're roughly at about the same position of on the body. And I'm wondering if that's maybe where they folded the shroud underneath them. And maybe that's a fold mark. And that could
Well,
be
yeah,
where
because
blood pooled.
Well, I'm sure that this line down the center is. But what's this?
It can just be where blood pooled. Like that's right around the crook of his elbows and stuff. So that would explain like the triangular shapes there and stuff like that. I'm curious if that's where blood pooled wherever he was laying.
Well, I'm sure most of the blood was drained out of him before they wrapped him.
Blood is still going to leak out, Andy. It doesn't
Well,
all
yeah,
drain
but
out.
I'm
You're
not. I'm
bone
pretty
dry.
sure it's not going to be that much. They
that's an
drained,
interesting.
he was
That's an
probably
interesting-
mostly drained before he was taken down off of the cross.
So another, what's amazing is, so there's that issue of that stitch being found related to Masada Fortress from ancient Israel. Another interesting thing, which again, if this is a forgery, this forger was just a master of history and local Israeli geography as well, because they found coins on the eyes, covering the eyes of the man in the shroud. So like there was the old Greek and ancient world custom of placing coins on the eyes for the toll man. Now I don't know if that was I don't think that was a custom in Israel, but the fact was,
Didn't the Romans do that too?
yeah, the Romans, because obviously they stole everything from the Greeks as they were thieves. But but yeah, so the hypothesis states that these coins might have been called leptons, small coins of low value that were common in Palestine in the Roman times. So they said that these leptons were coined in the year 29, which of course the crucifixion is dated between basically AD 30 to AD 33. So the coins that were seen by close forensic analysis, these leptons, were coined right around the time of this image being produced on this cloth, on this linen. So, I mean, that's just something that, again, you'd have to be a master forger to know that kind of history, especially in the medieval ages. Like maybe, like the Holy Land was actually in Muslim hands by that point. So maybe, it just doesn't add up. But I think you have I think the most fascinating thing about the shroud, though, is what these Italian scientists discussed with this burst of energy, because that's where the supernatural really kicks in. All these are medical details, they're historical details, but they're not supernatural. The burst of energy producing the image on the shroud, I think, is the most fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into that.
So Ronnie, you think they you think they used a Viamana or whatever they call them to take this picture?
I doubt it.
I'm
Highly
not
doubt it.
I'm not saying it was aliens. It was aliens.
Very well could have been aliens.
Maybe some alien grave robbers came in and took Jesus's body.
So here's what these Italian scientists found. It was from a scientific organization in Italy called the ENEA. So the basic line up front is that it took 34 trillion watts of ultraviolet radiation to color the Shroud of Turin.
Did they actually test it on the shroud, or did they use a similar cloth?
Well, let me see what they're saying. The ENEA stated the results show that a short and intense burst of UV directional radiation can color a linen cloth so as to reproduce many of the peculiar characteristics of the body image on the Shroud of Turin, including shades of color, the surface color of the fibrils on the outer linen fabric, and the absence of fluorescence. So I'm trying to see what else they because the shroud, the image on the shroud isn't even like that deeply ingrained. It's a very narrow layer on the shroud. It's very, but I mean, the 3D image it produces is remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, here's a fun fact. The name of the person who found it was a French knight named Joffrey, like from Game of Thrones, Joffrey.
Well, yeah,
Spelled a little different though.
A French knight.
Well, yeah, because the shroud was in France. That's actually where it was on fire for a short bit of time.
It's in the 1350s.
Yeah, the 1350s. That's when that edge piece was likely sewn on by likely what were sisters of a convent, and then blended to make it look one with the shroud. Because even these intelligent scientists in the 20th century didn't pick up on that until almost 20 years later.
You know what? I'm going to throw this out there too. They say carbon dating puts it at the Middle Ages. Carbon dating has been found over and over again to be notoriously unreliable.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. I mean, actually, again, I have to say this, that corner that they tested was from the medieval ages because that was a later edition. So that actually is accurate. That one little piece of the shroud was not part of the original shroud, but the edition is medieval. So that's accurate. But they're wrong about the shroud itself. Because I want to know what technology existed and even in the 13th century that could do 34 trillion watts of ultraviolet radiation. If anyone can answer that for me, I'll be happy.
You know, I would think that 34 trillion watts would instantly catch the fucking cloth on fire, wouldn't it?
Hey, Andy, I got a question. Has anyone gone over the shroud with a black light to check for evidence of the fappening?
Jesus.
Andy, I mean, Ronny for the rescue.
The nuclear option.
Come on.
That's a good addition. I like that.
Damn Sasquatch.
No, so Ronnie, if you're in a black light over that, it would light up everywhere there's a blood stain. So
I know.
it's not just gonna pick out jizz stains.
Well, I'm saying it could be stains in places where you can't see stains without it.
Ronnie.
Evidence of the fappening.
The fappening. You're going to hell, Ronnie.
Ooh. Ooh. No, I'm talking shit about Romans, not Jesus.
Yeah, Romans were gross bastards. So
The Romans didn't bury him. So
I mean, yeah, I think. I mean, again, yeah, just hypothetically thinking for all the skeptics out there, like, oh, it's a medieval forgery. All right, how'd they make it? Science can't reproduce it. Like if I made something, science could easily reproduce it because I'm not that intelligent nor, you know, expansive in my scientific knowledge. So they'd nail me in a heartbeat. But no, everything points to this. And you know, the thing is, it's crazy. Even like things related to the shroud, like the Longinus's spear. or even the crown of thorns itself. The crown of thorns was lent to pay for an entire crusade. One little article of wood funded an entire crusade of tens of thousands of soldiers.
Well, the spear itself is said to be cursed, isn't it?
Well, I mean, according to the Crusaders, it helped them win the first crusade. But
The spear?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Because there was a mystic.
Maybe it's a good curse.
Well, it was probably a curse for the Muslim Turks who were holding the Holy Land at the time. But eventually it fell back into their hands anyhow a couple centuries later. But yeah, I mean, just very simply put.
I wonder how much that spear tip would go for on the black market.
Millions and billions and billions.
$1 million.
Ooh, that's it? Okay.
$100 billion.
There you go. There you go.
I don't expect them to pay. I expect them to die.
You are hairy like animals.
That's what she'd be saying to this guy in the shroud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not much to it. I mean,
he's clearly got long hair, beard, mustache. You can see his eyes are closed, which kind of, I don't know, that kind of leaves questions for me, because you said he had coins on his eyes. But
well, yeah,
I see no evidence of a coin. I see eyelids here.
well, yeah, no, the coins were found. Well, hold on, because the coins were found. I don't know if it was on the eyes or on the body. So let me double check what I said there.
Here's my question though. What's this diamond shape on his torso? Is that like, yeah, look at right here.
Maybe a stain. Could be a stain.
I'm starting to think that he was Superman.
What's happening?
Where's the S?
That would be the location of the S, right?
Yep, exactly. Right in the middle. Right there.
The location of the JIZZ.
You know what? I do see some kind of squiggle here. It goes like, look, it goes from here and it goes over and over, almost like an S, but it's a C. It doesn't come back down. It only just right here. Maybe that.
So what it's saying is the enhancements, because I mean, these images are kind of, it's saying enhancements provide supporting evidence that the right eye area of the shroud images contain remnants of patterns of similar to those known as a Pontius Pilate coin dating from AD 29. So apparently it's near the right eye area. I don't know if it's right on the eyelid itself or near the eye. Maybe it shifted while the body was being moved.
Our right or his right?
Well, his right, yeah.
No question.
Damn it. Stupid things in my way.
So here's what it was. A button, a quote unquote button over each eye. In 1977, at a Shroud conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico, future STIRP, and STIRP stands for Shroud of Turin Research Project members, John Jackson, Eric Jumper, Bill Modern, and Ken Stevenson, reported on their discovery using a VP8 image analyzer, a computer which displayed shades of gray over a photograph as three-dimensional degrees. So that they found that there were three-dimensional information encoded in the Shrouds of Turin's image. So that's when they discovered it wasn't just a painting, because some people were like, oh, just a painting.
Hey, how old was Jesus when he died? In his early 30s, right?
Yeah, because he obviously wasn't born at 0, because there was no 0 at the time. 0 is the Christian calendar. He was probably born around 6 to 4 BC, what's now called BC. So yeah, he was in his 30s.
Well, I thought our calendar starts AD from the time he died, pretty much.
No, the Christian calendar 0, which funny enough, still the whole world uses today, even if one's atheist, agnostic, or whatever. They're using a Christianized calendar. So no, that's considered just the birth of Christ, not the death. Yeah.
That's not 100% true though. There's some Asian countries that don't use our calendar.
Well,
And
that
their dates are way off from ours.
I mean the Western world. So obviously, like Jews maintain their own calendar, which I believe was from
Ooh,
either
I remember what it was. It was Singapore. Singapore? Where's that? That's in
Malaysia. It's near Malaysia.
yeah. That place? It's not even the year fucking 2022.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. So like, if you look at it as
What
a
year
religion-
is it then, according to their calendar?
I don't know, something like 2012, 2013.
Oh,
Well, let me. I'm curious.
Because to them, their calendar year is longer than, I think it's longer than ours.
Now I'm curious what year it is in Singapore. I mean, for business purposes, they're going to use Western calendars because they do a lot of brisk business with Western countries. But yeah,
Foamy, you have wandered way off course.
well, that's because of you jackass.
No, right?
Sarah.
You're fired.
All right, so
I think for me, the biggest thing is that burst of energy producing that 3D image ingrained in the fibers of the cloth. In no way, shape, or form did even medieval forgers possess such technology.
no.
And no, as you said, there's problems with carbon dating anyhow. You've kind of ostensibly covered that in other podcasts before.
Yep.
yes, sir.
Part of it is you can't really accurately like especially with like the big like the stone structures and stuff, you can't accurately carbon date stone. So what they do is they try to find organic material around the same layer where the stone is sitting, and then they try to carbon date the organic material. And sometimes it doesn't work right. And all it really is a guess.
Yep.
So, yep. So the Shroud of Turin. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I mean, regardless whether it's Jesus or not, I mean, it's still a really cool piece.
Yeah, regardless of whether it's Jesus or not, there's huge questions of how the image on the shroud was even produced in that time period.
Obviously, we can't even produce it in our time period.
Not super accurately.
No,
We can make something look like that, sort of. But
because look, I mean, if this thing was wrapped around his body, right? If you were to put a really high-powered flash on the outside, it would sear the outside of the cloth. It wouldn't leave this picture of him underneath.
there's another question. Is the image we're looking at the inside of the cloth, the side that would have been in contact with the body, or is it the outside?
It would have to be.
Well, yeah, because you're only looking at the front of it. So like, there's actually, I'll send it to you because this medical article I was looking at, because they've actually made 3D replicas of the Shroud of Turin, like the image of, well, obviously I think he's Jesus, but they just say the man on the shroud. They've made 3D images of him showing every single wound, like the blood flow, everything. It's pretty intense. Because we're looking at where like his face was looking upwards as he was laid on his back in the tomb.
I mean,
But
it is a distinct possibility since all the wounds are there, including on the head where the crown of thorns would have been. But to me, like, I mean, I think the shroud's authentic. I mean, it's definitely what it appears to be. My question is it Jesus?
who else would it be?
Well, I mean,
Like,
I guarantee you, lots of people were tortured. Maybe not to the extent he was, but I mean, a lot of people back then were killed that same way.
with a crown on their head, and
Maybe not a crown. They only put the crown on his head because they thought he was running around proclaiming himself to be a king.
well, yeah, that's what they understood as the. Well, and here's the thing. That's why
They gave him a
the
crown
Jews,
of thorns.
that's why the Jews are also very upset because they misunderstood. Because many of them are expecting a Messiah, but they were expecting like a political leader, an ancient Donald Trump for Israel. They weren't expecting like someone talking about a heavenly kingdom, because what they wanted was the Romans to be overthrown and killed, and a Jewish king put on the throne. So when that wasn't what he was offering, that really pissed off most of them, and that's when they turned on him. So that's what the crown was for his kingdom. So yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, they used the same devices on everyone, crucify people, beat them with the flagellum, but
I mean, then again,
I don't see who else that would be. Respectfully,
this guy could have been whacked on the head once or twice with something. That's why it's got this big circle stain right here on top of his head, and then it's got like blood spattered down his face and his hair.
yeah, it's true. That
Could have been whacked good on the top of the head.
Oh yeah, they also beat him. They just didn't put they beat him while it was on his head too. So
Right.
because they found 50 puncture marks.
But what I'm saying though is if the shroud, even if it's from Jesus's time, this could be anybody.
It could, but how many people can produce like I guess, I mean, hypothetically you're right, but I mean, who else would have those credentials to?
I'm just playing devil's advocate here a little bit.
No, I know.
What I mean?
I agree with you. I mean,
Just
again,
saying.
you're right. Technically, they treated everyone the same. I'm sure some of the other convicts of that age were also beat with flagellum. They were
well, they treated Jesus exceptionally brutally.
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't they weren't playing games with him.
Well, no, because why they also did that
Making an
was
example.
because Pilate, according to the gospel narratives, was trying to appease the Jewish zealots because he was trying to prevent a revolt, and there ended up being a revolt anyhow a couple decades later, which is where Masada comes in, because there was a Jewish revolt. Yeah, radicals. That's when the temple was destroyed, the Temple of Solomon. So that's why Pilate was particularly brutal in their treatment of Jesus, because he was trying to really ease the crowd's anxiety and anger. So,
Yep.
and other people like the criminals crucified next to him, according to the story, were just fine. I mean, they had been crucified for their crimes, but one was like a thief. So it wasn't like they were going to put a crown of thorns on a thief's head. So
Yep. So,
What's
oh yeah, no, you're shitting you.
that? Oh, no, you shouldn't be bum.
So like, it's like, to me, looking at the time, this one's fit with high cholesterol. I think that I think it's entirely I think it's entirely possible that this was Jesus or is Jesus on the shroud. But it's just as possible that it's not. So
I mean, I can appreciate the because I think every good cause needs a devil's advocate, because otherwise, it's just a sycophancy. I mean, no one else to possess the credentials, I think, to reproduce
I sure
that
still don't.
sort of image. And
Nor do I possess.
that's what I mean. I mean,
Nor do I possess the credentials to verify its authenticity. So
well, yeah, but I'm not verifying it myself. I'm reading medical people explain, for example, the various puncture wounds and I mean, there were hundreds of wounds on this person's body, but it lines up with the gospel stories. Obviously, not every death is recorded in history, but someone viciously beaten and crucified like this might have earned a place in a tablet somewhere if it wasn't Jesus himself. So, I mean,
Yeah, most likely.
the resurrection essentially would have been such a supernatural event. I mean, a burst of light is the only thing that I can think of.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, whether it's real or not, the birth, death, and resurrection of Christ is still the most famous story ever told in human history.
And that's the name of, I think, a movie from the 60s. Most famous story.
Yeah. So on that note, you know where I'm getting at with this, Ronnie?
Yes.
Where's the sound? Oh. Ben, you got to watch this if you haven't seen it already.
Enjoying the night air, my brother?
Your robes, give them to me.
Oh, I come bearing many gifts, but I assure you my robes are not among them.
What are you, some kind of wise guy?
Well, actually, yes.
He's back. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator in the greatest action story ever told.
No vacancy. Gone to Nazareth.
Hasta la vista, baby Jesus.
All right, settle down. Did I make enough? Good. Back to my sermon. Blessed are the...
Get down. Come with me if you want to live.
What are you doing?
They were going to arrest you
No,
and crucify you.
it is supposed to happen.
What are you, a glutton for punishment?
In the beginning, there was Arnold.
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over metal endoskeleton. My mission is to protect you.
I appreciate your concern, and I realize you've traveled a great distance. But there's a plan, a master plan even, and I can't explain it to you now, but you must stay away. Do not go around killing people.
Why?
Because it is one of God's commandments, thou shalt not kill.
Why?
Because it is a sin.
Why?
Because it's not nice.
Why?
Father,
Why?
he's a robot from the future.
Thou shalt not miss this movie. Now,
This is probably the greatest part.
witness the miracle.
Brothers, my time with you is almost over. For now, let us eat.
We'll betray Jesus.
Eat this.
You just don't get it, do you?
You have been targeted for termination.
I already told you I'm supposed to die for the sins of mankind.
I'm programmed to protect you.
Stop killing Judas!
But he's going to betray you.
I know. Look, I've got a lot on my mind right now, and you're really starting to stress me out, okay?
Bosch's pilot at 10 o'clock.
Give me that thing.
give me that thing.
The meek shall inherit the action.
Don't worry, he'll be back. What?
He's like, what?
Where's that from? Like, who
Bosch's
you know,
pilot at
producing?
10 o'clock.
I think it's Mad TV, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's Matt TV.
Yeah, Mad TV, 1996.
Wait, what did he say? What was at 10 o'clock?
Pontius
Pontius
Pilate.
Pilate.
That's great.
Holy shit.
I couldn't do an Easter episode without that.
Oh my god. Ridiculous.
Yep. I don't know if Ronnie got a chance to put forth his say.
I did not.
So, Shroud of Turin, you know, on the obese scale, what do you got?
I'd say it's slightly overweight. It's a little bit over the hill, not quite in its prime anymore.
On his way down the other side. Well, Ben, I think we know your stance on this. This is morbidly obese, correct?
Yeah, morbidly obese. I mean, you know, I mean, it's not even that you can pin bias on me. I mean, there's plenty of other relics that exist, which I think are garbage, you know, which are made up over the years. Happy to call things fake when they're fake, but I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, just like the spear, they say stabbed Jesus. That could be any spear point. The Romans made millions of spears.
That's what I mean. So
You
if someone came to me with that, be like, yeah, probably not. Oh, this is wood from the cross. Okay, but you know, actually, there was a saying which, you know, that there was so much wood of the cross that you could build a ship. So, you know, no, there's things like that I'm happy to say are fake. It's, you know, it's not about bias. I mean, it's just the fact that this image, whether using technology from 2,000 years ago or 15, you know, or 1,000 years ago, cannot be replicated.
But that also, what kind of lends its credibility a little bit, is it's the only one. There's not another shroud like this in the whole world anywhere.
Exactly.
And there's cultures on every continent that used to wrap their dead the way they did Jesus. So
well, that's what I'm talking about. It's not like you're finding 500 magical shrouds everywhere around the world. Only one in existence. So yeah, for me, this is morbidly obese. Yeah, I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with people taking a cautious approach to it. I mean, hypothetically, yes, it could be someone else. I think every good debate needs like I said, needs a devil's advocate, advocatus diaboli. But nah, this is the real deal. For everyone listening, happy Easter. Enjoy your time with your families.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. No, you should, yeah. Easter Bunny ain't coming to my house no more.
Stuff your face.
So if you listened this far, appreciate it. We appreciate anybody who cares to listen to us, whether you like it or not.
Send us a comment and I'll give you a back rub.
Yeah, I'll give you a good old massage with my love gun.
With my pistol.
Giving away handies half price this week.
Holiday discount.
Give you the pimp juice. Mm-hmm.
Ronald is lonely up there in the North Woods.
Yes.
My God.
It's just me and some caribou up here. Come on by.
She is foamy. You have wandered way off course.
Pretty much.
True beer
I
bros.
think that's all she wrote.
We mentioned something about we're going to get into a little bit of the origin story of our American traditional Easter, though, just a little.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We know it's got pagan roots. The Easter Bunny. Not really sure which pagan culture it came from, but it's pagan. And it didn't lay candy eggs. Not even in the mythology it didn't.
Well, I mean, I think that was just some kind of springtime cult to represent new life, the new life of the spring equinox or something.
Yeah, but if it was think about this though, if it was some kind of like a fertility ritual in the spring, and all these women get pregnant in the spring, they're gonna have their baby in the wintertime. Is that such a great time to be squirting out a baby?
Yeah, but they already had like 15 kids apiece, so back in those days, so it didn't matter what time it was born.
True.
They had one for every month and every season.
And they were all warriors bound for Valhalla.
Yeah, Boadicea and the British Celts.
Yep. Or Ragnar Lothbrok from the History Channel show.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of variations because it wasn't entirely pagan based, like Easter, the Christian celebration of Easter. Because in some countries like Greece or the Slavic countries or even France, they call it Pâques or Pascha, which sounds a lot like Pesach or Passover. So it does originally emerge from Jewish tradition, since Christianity emerged from Judaism. But yeah, I mean, as Christianity spread to like the British Isles, spread to Western Europe where there was no real Jewish presence, yeah, they had to kind of make themselves amenable to the wider pagan population. So
makes sense.
I mean, and some people have a problem with that, but personally, I don't. As a Christian, I don't care. Like, why wouldn't you speak in the language that people could understand? Like many older Christian churches are built over the ruins of pagan temples. They like sanctified the site. So why wouldn't they take a holiday that was beloved by the people and just make it Christian, but it's something that they understood in a sense? I have no problem with that.
I think we're gonna hear Ronnie start snoring again. He turned off his mic and his camera and everything.
Oh yeah, he's done, son.
I was getting ready to say goodnight to you guys.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get off here. We're gonna get done with this too right now. So
happy Easter to all, and
happy Easter to all. This has been the Shroud of Turin Easter special of the Supernatural Beer Bros podcast.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Ronnie, Ben, and myself.
And a happy Passover.
Signing out.